Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar and here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. Market snaps a three-day winning streak, ends in the red for the second week in a row. IT stocks along with financials drag the benchmark indices in today's trade. Reliance Industries lifts the Nifty, which ends just above the 23,200 mark. The International Monetary Fund keeps its India growth projection for the next two fiscal years unchanged at 6.5%, projects global growth at 3.3% for 2025 and 2026, says near-term global growth outlook characterized by divergent risks. 2 weeks to go for the union budget. The Finance Ministry is actively looking at sweeteners under the new income tax regime to boost consumption demand. Sources say options of a hike in the standard deduction limit and tweaks in the tax slabs are on the cards. That's an exclusive. Prime Minister Modi opens India's biggest auto show, pitches India as an investment destination, says India's EV market will grow eightfold by 2030. 34 manufacturers showcase over 100 new launches to the public. Auto giants showcase their e-mobility offerings at the Bharat Mobility Global Expo. Maruti Suzuki unveils its first electric vehicle, the e-Vitara, at the Auto Expo. Hyundai drives in with the Creta Electric. Honda rides in with Activa E, its first electric scooter, to the Expo. TikTok staring at a federal ban in the US as the deadline for its Chinese owner to divest stake comes to an end. New York Times reports, citing sources, that the TikTok CEO has been invited for the Trump inauguration. Wipro posts a healthy set of numbers in the third quarter. Constant currency revenue growth comes in at 0.1%, which is higher than its guidance. Tech Mahindra beats the street's constant currency revenue growth by 1.2%, betters the CNBC-TV18 poll. New US H-1B visa norms kick in from today. Recent changes mean employers will have to pay 70% more for beneficiaries of H-1B petitions and will see a significant escalation in their wage bill and legal costs. Indian IT giants, however, say that their dependence on H-1B visas has reduced significantly since they are focusing more on local hiring and leveraging technological advancements. The cabinet grants approval for refarming 687 megahertz of idle spectrum available with multiple ministries. This will help increase available spectrum from 900 to nearly 1600 megahertz to help India's 5G and 6G aspirations. BJP releases its manifesto ahead of the Delhi elections, promises 2,500 rupees per month for women in a bid to counter the Aam Aadmi Party's offer of 2,100 rupees. Delhi goes to polls on the 5th of February. India's highest sporting honour for Olympic medalist Manu Bhakar, chess prodigy D. Gukesh, hockey player Harmanpreet Singh and Paralympic gold medalist Praveen Kumar. President Draupadi Murmu confers the Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award on them. 32 athletes received the Arjuna Award. Well, we'll come to all of that and a lot more in just a bit. But first, let's head to the market action of the day. The market snapped a three-day winning streak to end in the red for the second week in a row. The IT stocks, along with financials, track the benchmark indices in today's trade. And well, speaking of the markets, let's also take a look at the money market action. The rupee remains steady against the US dollar in today's trade. However, $1 still costs nearly 87 rupees. The RBI has liberalized key regulations under the Foreign Exchange Management Act. This will boost the use of the Indian currency in global trade. Overseas branches, meanwhile, of authorized dealer banks will now be able to open INR accounts for non-residents. Meanwhile, Indian exports can also open foreign currency accounts overseas to receive export proceeds and use them to pay for imports. Well, on to the energy markets now, where oil prices are on course for a fourth consecutive week of gains. This as the US sanctions on Russian energy trade heightened supply concerns. Strong economic data from China also supported prices. And well, speaking of China, the country's economy expanded by 5.4% in the fourth quarter, beating the market's expectations. This was the fastest pace of growth in 6 quarters. The government's fiscal stimulus turbocharged activity in last quarter of 2024. Now, according to China's National Statistics Bureau, the country's full-year GDP growth expanded to 5%, and that's in line with the government's target. Similarly, December retail sales and industrial output expanded on an annualized basis on the back of stimulus measures. Well, the International Monetary Fund has maintained India's growth projection for FY26 at 6.5%. According to IMF's World Economic Outlook report, global growth is also expected to remain stable. However, the fund has identified tariff hikes as a major risk to economic growth globally. Ritu Singh is joining us now with more details. Ritu, take us through the contours of this IMF report.
Well, the IMF's latest World Economic Outlook report projects global growth to hold steady at a lackluster 3.3% in both 2025 and 2026, which is well below the pre-pandemic average of 3.7%. Now, while the forecast is broadly unchanged from 3 months ago, it masks significant regional disparities. Advanced economies are expected to grow modestly at 1.9% this year and 1.8% in 2026, but the US stands out with a 2025 growth forecast of 2.7%, which has been revised up by 50 basis points, while the Eurozone faces a downgrade to just 1%, weighed down by weak manufacturing and geopolitical tensions. In emerging markets, the picture is steadier, with a 4.2% growth estimated for this year and 4.3% for the next. Now, IMF says India's growth remains solid and projects 6.5% growth rate annually for FY25 through FY27, aligning with its potential. Now, this slightly exceeds the NSO's estimate of 6.4% for the current fiscal, but falls short of RBI's 6.6% forecast. The World Bank, for instance, has also forecast a 6.5% growth for India in FY25, but a higher 6.7% growth rate for both FY26 and FY27. Now, IMF says global inflation will ease to 4.2% this year and about 3.5% next year, but again with divergent trends where advanced economies are likely to reach their target faster than the emerging economies. Risks to the global outlook remain tilted to the downside, including economic policy uncertainty, protectionism, geopolitical tensions, and potential tariff hikes. The IMF cautions that under a new Trump administration, surging demand or supply disruptions could also reignite inflation, prompting the Federal Reserve to maintain high rates, and this could tighten global financial conditions, especially for emerging market economies.
Here's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. With just 2 weeks to go for the union budget, the Finance Ministry is actively looking at sweeteners under the new income tax regime. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 that a hike in the standard deduction limit and tweaks in the tax slabs are being considered. Timsy Jaipuria is joining us now with more details. Timsy.
Well, that's right. What we are given to understand from sources is that the government currently is actively considering personal income tax breaks to spur consumption demand and to boost the economy. Government currently is studying 2 options on tax breaks, and any decision will look to make only the new tax regime more attractive, is what sources say. Now, some of the options that are there on the cards for a tax relief: firstly, option 1, to increase the standard deduction limit from 75,000 rupees per annum, which is the current limit, anything up till 1 lakh rupees, and it could be in any proportion, either 75 to be made 80, 85, 90, 95, or even 1 lakh rupees per annum. That is something that is yet to be decided. Secondly, this particular option is to move the slabs in the new tax regime. Now, here government is considering 2 options. Firstly, to expand the 20% tax slab to cover income between 12 lakh and 18 lakh rupees, or even going beyond 18 lakh rupees till 20 lakh rupees. Remember, currently this slab is 12 lakh to 15 lakh rupees, where the tax rate is 20%. And then, as a follow-up to this, since the 20% slab will move, follow-up will be the movement on the 30% slab as well, which is also an option, where it feels that then, as a follow-up, 18 lakh rupees or 20 lakh rupees and above could be the income bracket for the higher tax rate, that is of 30%, which currently is at 15 lakh plus. So let's see what happens finally, because sources indicated that government believes tax breaks will mean more disposable income, it will boost the spending power, plus this increased spending power by the common man will help recovery in both direct taxes and GST collections. But just to remind our viewers that a final call on the tax break proposals will be taken up by both Finance Ministry and PMO only closer to the budget. It is taken only 1 or 2 days before the budget, and email queries sent to the North Block on this particular story have remained unanswered. So let's see what Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announces on the 1st of February. Back to you.
Right, Timsy, thanks a lot for that. The middle class, of course, will be hoping for that sweetener. Now, let's move ahead. The big earnings action of the day. The IT giant Wipro announced a healthy set of numbers in the third quarter, meeting streets' expectations on major parameters. Constant currency revenue growth came in at 0.1%, which is higher than its guidance. Wipro also announced a change in capital allocation policy to increase payout to 70% or more of 3-year profit. And well, Tech Mahindra's constant currency revenue growth beat the expectations of 1.2% in the third quarter. The IT firm's margins were also in line with expectations. Net profit missed expectations marginally, despite growing 92% YOY. Meanwhile, both rupee and dollar revenue also fell short of estimates. The company has said that it has encountered major cross-currency headwinds in this quarter. Well, with both Tech Mahindra and Wipro announcing their numbers today, the IT big boys have now all announced their third quarter earnings. So how exactly did they fare? Reema Tendulkar joins us with a quick wrap of all the IT earnings this quarter.
Large cap IT earnings are in, and as a quick recap, TCS, Wipro, Tech Mahindra beat expectation. HCL Tech was a miss on elevated expectations, while Infosys, the headline numbers look good, but the internals were a bit disappointing. Now let's get to the numbers. In terms of growth, the real revenue growth on a quarter-on-quarter basis, HCL Tech was a miss, but again, the expectations were higher, but the company's growth at 3.8% was on top of the pack on the back of seasonality in its products business. Wipro was anticipated to report a negative growth, so they managed to report a positive growth. TCS on expected lines was a flat performance. For Infosys, it was a 1.7% growth, but again, aided by certain pass-through elements, which are not sustainable in the next quarter. In terms of margins, we've largely seen an improvement in margins across the board, and it was positive to see companies like HCL Tech companies like Wipro absorb the wage hike impact and still report a margin expansion of 70 basis points. So, Wipro's margins positively surprised the street. Even Tech Mahindra has been on a margin expansion streak. That said, TCS's EBIT margins in absolute terms continue to remain right on top of the pack at 24.5%. The headcount picture has been a bit mixed. So TCS and Wipro reported a decline in their headcount, while Infosys and HCL Tech reported an expansion in their overall headcount. Attrition for the companies have been inching up. For across-the-board IT services companies, attrition has been higher for the last second or third consecutive quarter. It's still at very comfortable levels. So for TCS, it's at 13.5%, Infosys is at 13.7%. But the trend here to monitor is that it's been slowly inching up. So for TCS, this is the second consecutive quarter of an increase in attrition. Attrition 2 quarters ago was 12.1%. For Infosys, 3 quarters ago, attrition was at 12.6%. So companies are not worried at all about attrition, and maybe it's seen as a positive sign that there are greener pastures, demand is picking up. Deal wins for the company, I think over here it's TCS which stands out. TCS reported a very strong deal win above $10 billion. For TCS, the deal wins at $10 billion includes new plus renewal, but it was a very strong performance for TCS this time. And the management commentary, which is forward-looking indicators are also positive. Companies are talking about discretionary demand being better than 3 months ago. Companies like TCS are talking about FY26 being better than FY25, and across the board, BFSI as a sector continues to see recovery, and companies seem to be confident about the recovery and momentum in BFSI sustaining.
Right, Reema, thanks a lot for that. Now, from the IT to the auto space, Prime Minister Narendra Modi kicked off India's biggest auto show in Delhi and pitched India as an investment destination. About 34 manufacturers are showcasing over 100 new launches to the public. Maruti Suzuki unveiled its first electric vehicle, the e-Vitara. The SUV will be launched in March and will be manufactured at Suzuki's Gujarat facility. Hyundai Motors, meanwhile, launched the new Creta Electric, which will be priced at about 18 lakh rupees. The SUV offers a range of up to 473 kilometers on a single charge. Suzuki Motorcycle India unveiled their first electric scooter, the e-Axis, along with a flex fuel sports bike. The e-Access offers a top speed of 71 kilometers per hour and comes with a portable charger. Speaking at the expo, PM Modi said that the country's EV market will grow 8-fold by 2030.
अनुमान है कि इस दशक के अंत तक भारत में इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स की संख्या 8 गुना तक बढ़ सकती है। ये दिखाता है कि इस सेगमेंट में आपके लिए कितनी ज्यादा संभावनाएं बढ़ रही है। अपने तीसरे टर्म में हम पीएम ई ड्राइव स्कीम लेकर आए हैं। इसके तहत 2 व्हीलर, 3 व्हीलर, ई एम्बुलेंस, ई ट्रक ऐसे करीब 28 लाख ईवीज खरीदने के लिए मदद दी जाएगी। करीब 14,000 इलेक्ट्रिक बसें भी खरीदी जाएगी।
Well, the cabinet has approved the refarming of idle spectrum available with multiple ministries and departments. This will help allocate 687 megahertz of excess spectrum to telecom companies for better rollout of 5G and 6G services. Telecom Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia has said that 320 megahertz spectrum will be released immediately. The refarming will push the total available spectrum with the telecom department to nearly 1600 megahertz. Well, on to a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. The Mahindra Group has received 104 crore rupees as incentive claims for FY24 under the Auto PLI scheme. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 that the incentive claims were on the sale of electric three-wheeler cargo and passenger vehicles. Now, at least 6 workers have been trapped after a coal hopper collapsed at Dalmia Bharat cement plant in Odisha. The company has said that some workers are still unaccounted for. It added that the coal hopper was being operated by a third-party vendor. The large iron structure was being used to service a captive power plant at this facility. Now, meanwhile, food delivery giant Zomato has withdrawn its decision to impose an extra fee for vegetarian food deliveries. This comes after a user on LinkedIn criticized the policy, calling it Zomato's latest masterstroke. CEO Dipinder Goyal apologized on LinkedIn, saying, and I quote, "This is absolutely stupid on our part. I'm super sorry for this. The charge will be removed today itself," end quote. And logistics service provider Delivery has launched Rapid Commerce, a 2-hour delivery service for brands to fulfill orders deliveries faster. The service, which has been started in Bengaluru, is processing 300 deliveries per day. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, Chief Operating Officer Ajit Pai said that the firm will expand this service to other metro cities in the coming months.
Objective is to scale this service very quickly over the next few months to all of the metros to begin with. We've started with Bengaluru, as you mentioned, and we believe that the first first outlook will be to scale this quickly to all of the metros within a period of a few months.
Well, 3 weeks to go for the Delhi Assembly elections. The BJP's manifesto has put women at the centre of welfare schemes. They have promised a benefit of 21,000 rupees for pregnant women, as well as 5,000 rupees for the first child and 6,000 rupees for the second. The party will also give a monthly payment of 2,500 rupees to women under the Mahila Samriddhi Yojana. Other promises include a 500 rupee subsidy on LPG cylinders, a pension scheme for senior citizens as well. To some courtroom action now, the Supreme Court has paused a Delhi court order that directed the Delhi government to sign an agreement with the centre for the implementation of the Ayushman Bharat scheme. The Apex Court also issued notices to the Union Government, AIIMS and Delhi's Municipal Corporation. This after the High Court had directed both governments to finalise an MOU to ensure the rollout of this scheme by the 5th of January. Well, coming up on the show, TikTok staring at a federal ban in the USA as the deadline for its Chinese owner to divest stake comes to an end. New York Times reports, citing sources, that the TikTok CEO has been invited for the Trump inauguration. And you can also catch all CNBC TV18's news and updates on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema. Well, here's the big global story. Israel's war cabinet has ratified a ceasefire deal that calls for a pause on the 15-month-long war in Gaza, an exchange of dozens of hostages held by Hamas for Palestinians in Israeli jails. The deal will now go to the full cabinet for the final sign-off. And short video streaming platform TikTok may go fully dark in the United States on Sunday. That is the day when the deadline for its Chinese owner to divest their ownership comes to an end. Existing users would be legally able to continue using TikTok, but the app would become unusable over time. A White House spokesperson has said that the outgoing president, Joe Biden, had no plans to intervene in the matter. This means that the ball is now in Trump's court, and his administration has to take a call on whether they want TikTok to continue their operations in the US.
TikTok is getting ready to shut its US operations on Sunday when a federal ban is set to take effect. That's according to Reuters sources. A law signed in April mandates the ban unless Chinese owner ByteDance divests US operations for the social media platform. Policymakers in Washington say the app is a threat to national security because of its vast troves of data on 170 million American users. That's something the firm has always denied. Now users who already have the app could theoretically still use TikTok after the ban. However, the law also bars US companies from providing services to distribute, maintain or update it. Donald Trump could yet have a say in the matter, though.
You know, I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points.
The president-elect is due to be sworn in a day after the ban takes effect. The Washington Post says he is considering issuing an executive order to suspend a shutdown for 60 to 90 days. There was no immediate comment from the Trump transition team, and the man himself has said he should have time after taking office to pursue a resolution to the issue. Speaking on Fox News, incoming National Security Advisor Mike Waltz called TikTok a fantastic platform. He said the new administration would find a way to preserve it while also protecting people's data. A White House spokesman said President Joe Biden had no plans to intervene in the matter during his final days in office. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court is weighing an appeal from ByteDance, but legal experts say justices look minded to uphold the ban. The Reuters sources say TikTok will allow US users to download all their data before the app goes offline there. But users around the world could also face a shutdown, with the app reliant on hundreds of data service providers located within the United States, who soon won't be able to work with it.
Well, staying with the US, President-elect Donald Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, has vowed to impose tougher sanctions on Russia's oil sector. Testifying at a Senate Finance Committee confirmation hearing, Bessent also rejected the idea of a central bank digital currency for the Fed.
If I'm confirmed, and if President Trump requests, and as part of his strategy to end the Ukraine war, that I will be 100% on board for taking sanctions up, especially on the Russian oil majors, to levels that would bring the Russian Federation to the table.
I see no reason for the U.S. to have a central bank digital currency. Many of these countries are doing it out of necessity, whereas the U.S., if you hold U.S. dollars, you could hold a variety of very secure U.S. assets.
Well, the new US H-1B visa norms have kicked in from today. The recent changes mean employers will have to pay 70% more for beneficiaries on H-1B petitions. Employers will also see a significant escalation in their wage bill and legal costs. However, Indian IT giants have said that their dependence on H-1B visas has reduced significantly since they are focusing more on local hiring. Former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney has announced that he will run for leader of Canada's governing Liberal Party. Carney formally launched his bid in his hometown of Edmond, Alberta. If he wins, the 59-year-old will succeed Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Wow. Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife Bushra Bibi have been convicted in a £190 million land corruption case. Imran Khan has been sentenced for 14 years and his wife for 7 years in jail. The case is the largest in terms of financial wrongdoing by Khan, who has been in jail since August of 2023 in Rawalpindi in another case. Olympic medalist Manu Bhaker, chess prodigy D. Gukesh, hockey player Harmanpreet Singh and Paralympic gold medalist Praveen Kumar get India's highest sporting honour. President Draupadi Murmu conferred the Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award on them today. 32 athletes received the Arjuna Award. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you so much for watching. For more news and updates, keep watching CNBC TV 18.